One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to One-on-One at Legacy Maker Sports Network. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, episode 128 of One-on-One here on the Legacy Makers Sports Network. And of course, I'm airing on the amazing Bowie Television. I'm very excited today. Because today on episode 128, our second episode of season 5, I have a really good friend of mine joining me today. And I'm excited because when you get a chance to pick a great mind, I guess you can say, you get a chance to learn about somebody who really knows their stuff. That's what I'm excited about today. So today with me, y'all, I have the man, the myth, the legend, my man Courtlandt Griffin, NFL analyst, reporter, and host of the halftime show and multiple shows, and which we'll get into a little bit later. And Courtlandt, how you doing, man? It's good to have you on the show.
Man, it's great. You know, that was a I don't know if I'm gonna be able to even live up to the introduction, but but man, yeah, man, like it's cool, it's dope to I kind of find it dope sometimes, like when you watch, you go from being a watcher of a show, right? To and a fan of a show to sitting in the seat, and being the featured man. So like it's surreal for me. So
Well, the time was coming. We had to get you in here. We had discussed it a little bit last year. It just didn't line up in the cards. But hey,
yeah,
the 5th anniversary, it's only right to get you in here, my man.
for sure.
So glad to get you going. But before we get started, y'all know how we start things here on One-on-One. We start off with the check-in. All right. So, Courtlandt, we want to check in on you, your family, your friends. How are things right now for Courtlandt Griffin?
Um, I mean, family wise, I mean, me and the wife are chugging along, right? We're going on now 4.5 years of marriage, and then next March will be 5 years. So yeah, so milestones are being reached. Dealing with some things on like the family end, right? And it's kind of rough because i- in the line of business that we do,
Right.
right, your time is consumed with sports related content, but then real life happens on the back end of that. So you're dealing with the real life, and you're trying to find that life work balance, and it kind of gets rough. But I do have a good support group. I have my family and my extended family, friends, and then of course my wife, who's even her having to deal with those things too, right? She finds a way to keep me, on the up and up. So definitely doing well. Of course, I'm healthy. I haven't had a haircut in almost 2 months, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Uh, but so is the life of a reporter. Sometimes it's not about looking good, but it's about putting the content that the fans and the people want to see. So
Hey, look, I understand completely. Look, as people like to make fun, but the car Winslow is in full effect. So at least you got hair to cut, my friend. And when
hey,
I do
Carl
cut
Winslow
mine,
was a great man. That was a
that's
great man.
that's what I try to say, But it is what it is. It is what it is. And shout out to the amazing Jade. That's my homie right
Yes.
there. She did some amazing work for Bowie Television back at the draft. So shout out to my girl Jade. She's one of the best. So I had to give love where love needed to be given. There you go. I guess that sounded
For sure.
right. Now let's get into it. Let's dig a little bit about Courtlandt. Courtlandt, first of all,
Mhm.
let's start off with I kind of want to know where your passion of sports come from. When you were 8-year-old, 7-year-old Courtlandt, where did that passion for sports come from, and what gave you that
Oh
drive to get
man.
into the sports world, man?
Um, it's weird. This is gonna sound really cliche, right? I was a Power Rangers kid. I was the Saturday morning cartoons kid, right? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is showing my age a little bit. Uh, it's the best Power Rangers show, by the way. But Space Jam was one of the movies that I loved. I loved Space Jam, right? And so that was like my first introduction into the sports realm. And then my mom asked me, I never forget, my mom asked me, because of course you got to get into sports as a young man, right? And so my mom asked me, who do you want to be? And I can't remember if she said Steve McNair. I think she said, yeah, Steve McNair or Michael Jordan. I said Michael Jordan. And I know that's kind of like a lead on answer, right? Like in a
Right.
court of law, you're leading the witness on. But because if you talk to me now, so I'm singing a different tune. But but I started in PAL basketball, and I mean my competitive nature, according to my parents, showed up really bad, right, in the worst way. Because my mom said my first game I tried to steal the ball from my own teammate, which so uh
Can't have this. I'm
so
sorry. It's mine. Come on, let's go.
yeah, like get out the way. I'm the star. But that kind of went into getting into football. Football became my passion sport, right? Like the sport that I loved to play. Baseball, became my second love, and then basketball was always just kind of the sport that, like, recreationally I liked it, but it just wasn't for me, right? Like, is dribbling the ball is just not for me. But in elementary school, I've always kind of been a historian, and I think that's where it started for me, really, because I would read the books, and those who remember like being in school in the '90s, early '90s, or late '90s, early 2000s, they had the books in the library, like Magic Johnson, right, or Michael Jordan. It
Yeah.
was just a book about them.
Little thin bad boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a book about them, and so outside of reading chapter books, I would go and I would read those, and so a lot of the sports knowledge I have came from those books. And then as I got older, started getting into collegiate sports and high school sports, things of that nature. The passion just kind of grew and grew and grew and grew, and so I found myself not only being really good at sports, but also being good at arguing sports. and so, um, man, just the passion, like I said, the passion's just been there. Like my dad played sports, my mom played sports. Um, my grandfather was a Golden Glove boxer, so sports is just. My uncle was a great DB and things of that nature in high school. So just I grew up around athletes, and so the competitive nature was there, and that passion just was there from the beginning, because I got pushed by my family to be great at something, and I chose sports.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I will say this. I saw, the Power Rangers. For me, first 2 seasons. After that, I was out. I didn't, like I wasn't. It was tough after the first, after the first group. Let me put it that way. First and second group. Second group, well, I was like, all right, I can still kind of mess with them a little bit.
Right.
But after that second group, I couldn't tell you what Ranger was who after that. But I mean, I remember the episode when we all would found out that Tommy was the White Ranger, and I remember running home, saying to myself, "Okay, this is the day," because they were hyping it. They were like, "This is the day we got to go." And me and my boy went home and watched it, and the guesses were everywhere. Like, it could be this person, it could be that person. So I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm probably one of the most. I'm like one or two people that was disappointed that it was Tommy.
Oh,
I was
man.
like, what?
I'm a John David. R.I.P. to the GOAT, man.
Yeah, rest in peace. Rest in peace. I mean, after the fact, yeah, but initially I'm like, Tommy, like I thought it was gonna be a brand new person. I was all pumped about it, and I'm like, so maybe that was the baby letdown. But Tommy handled his own, he handled his own on that bad boy. Well, look, I mean, obviously that passion of sports led into this career. Take us through your journey, into the career so far. How did you get started into the sports world, into the sports journalism world? What got you going into that?
So playing in college, right? And then before I could even take a snap, like, of college, I went through training, spring camp, and weightlifting and program and all that good stuff, and then in 2013, had a car wreck, fracture at C4, which generally is paralysis or death for most people.
Right.
This happened, of course, after my grandmother had passed. So, I was planning on getting back into school and doing all these things, because I had left school originally to help with my mom with her. And so, have that car wreck. My car flips 9 times. I got clipped by an 18-wheeler. Again,
wow.
all of these things. So playing sports, the sport that I loved, right, in football, which is football, with a neck injury, it's just it's a risky thing, right? So for 3 months, I'm out of commission. My mom and dad have to help me in and out of the bed, help me take a shower, which is embarrassing, right? Like you basically you're going through. I went through 3 months of a depression. Like I went through 3 months of just like I can't do what I want to do anymore. Like I can't the game that I love to play, right? Like I can't really do that at the capacity that I wanted to do it, right? Because at that age, man, I was 23rd. I was 20 years old. Yeah, I was 20 years old. So I thought by the age of 22, 23, like I'm going into like year 2, year 3 of my career, like the
Right.
NFL, right?
Right.
Like I'm catching somebody's ball. You know what I'm saying? I'm scoring somebody's touchdown, like something. Like I'm helping somebody's team, and so now that realization is now kind of coming to reality. Like, nah, that's not what's gonna happen. So all the thing I did was watch NFL Network, play 2K, play Madden, watch ESPN, and finally, I got out the neck brace, got out the seat collar and everything. I went to the barbershop, and one of the guys in the barbershop was like, man, they got to arguing. My barber got to talking, and so that fired me up. I'm like, man, y'all don't know what y'all talking about, bro. Like, let me run these numbers off. And they were like, man, you know way too much just to be not doing something. Right. And so I just kind of like took that passion, and it wasn't until I met Jade that I really started to pick up on, like, that's when podcasting got like introduced to me, and writing. So I started my own company, or attempted to start my own company, called New Wave Sports. And I started writing articles, just like story pieces, and basketball, college football, NFL draft, just anything. Whatever I could write, I wrote it. And from there, I started a podcast called the Tidal Wave Podcast, and it was, and so it was rough and tumble in the beginning. I kind of lost because with anything, you looking at people who are big in like a certain area, big in this business, and then like you're like, man, I'm not getting the traction that I want. I'm not getting the recognition that I want. Like, I know my stuff, or I feel like I know my stuff. Like I feel like I'm putting out good content. It's just not happening. And finally, I reached out to Raphael. Shout out to Raphael Haynes.
Shout out. Our guy.
And I just asked him. I was like, yo, like I saw a clip that Mike Patton had shared. And I had met Mike Patton at like a meet and greet that my wife was invited to. So I came, and I met Mike Patton, and at that point I was just I was in like pursuit of happiness mode. Like, bro, like somebody gonna see these articles, and somebody gonna either be like, man, this is great, we're gonna pick you up, or you know what I'm saying, if they don't, like, hey bro, like point me in the direction of somebody who will. So Mike friended me, got my information, got my number. We just became Facebook friends and everything. And then I saw Raphael Haynes, saw his post, and like he talking to players, and he had the red carpet, and he talking to Stephen A. Smith. And I'm like, man, this dude doing what I want to do, right? Like, and he's an accessible guy. So I just hit him up on Facebook. I was like, bro, like, what I gotta do to do like what you're doing? Like, so like, what do I have to, like, how do I get it going? How do I gain the traction? And he hit me back and was like, man, just stay down. Like he gave me the bro, like, man, I'm not gonna give you the keys to the city answer, right? Like, hey man, stay down, keep grinding.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do that then. Like, and I just kind of took it like, man, this dude ain't trying to give me no play or whatever. So I can't remember how it came about. I can't remember, but like Danny, they were doing the one-on-one battlegrounds. They were doing battlegrounds. And so Raph asked me, did I want to get on there? And so I did that, and I aced the first one. And then after that first one, he was like, yo, you want to be a part of 3-point conversion? And then that was 2020. No, yeah, that was 2019.
Man, that's 5 years already.
Yeah, man. So yeah, bad fact. Yeah, that was 2019. Yeah, that was 2019. And because me and Jay had just like we were about to get married. So like yeah, that was 2019. So
Mhm.
fast forward now, I'm now I did the ACC kickoff, and I thought I made it at that point. You couldn't tell me nothing. Like
You killed it. I was there.
yeah,
I'm
that was
telling you.
yeah, and so what kind of and you can attest to this,
Yes.
that y'all can go on YouTube if you're watching this episode. You can go on YouTube right now and go look and just type in Dabo Sweeney, or like type in ACC kickoff. Dabo
Hilarious.
Sweeney gets like pressed by reporter or whatever. That's me. I asked that question.
It was
And
hilarious.
yeah, and so because I first day, like Darrell can tell you, first day I'm like, man, hey yo, like I'm throwing my hand up. I got questions. Like I'm asking questions, and people I blame. And this is a lesson learned for me. Don't let people big your head up, man. Like, because man, EJ Manuel, like I'm walking past EJ Manuel, who's if you know who EJ Manuel is,
Right.
but he's now an anchor for ACC Network and with ESPN and everything. He's like, hey man, great questions. Man, it's my first big event. I just got, okay, it's up. So, NIL was that was the big ticket item, right? That was the big draw. And so
Right.
I was like, man, I'm gonna ask Dabo Sweeney, because I know seen it, you tapped in. So like you seen like, man, Dabo Sweeney and Nick Saban, they don't really like NIL, and they making these comments. So I'm like, man, I'm finna ask a question. So like everybody in the little breakout room, right, getting food, everybody eating that morning. I'm like, man, I'm finna ask this question to Dabo Sweeney. People like, I ain't touching that. Like, nah, I ain't touching it. And Rafat told me, he was like, make sure you do your research. Make sure you got it. I was like, man, I got it. I promise. Like, this is what he said. I'm good. Now, mind you, if I would have if I could go back and tell younger Courtlandt,
Right.
hey man, hey, you should just go two tabs over, and you would have seen the article where like he's debunked all of those things. And so I asked Dabo Sweeney, like, man, like, is it your comments about NIL? Like, I promise, y'all go look at that YouTube video. I was not embarrassed at the time. I wasn't embarrassed, but it was a learning lesson. So after that, like, I apologized to Dabo Sweeney. The very next year we went, and Dabo, we had an exchange, and he was like, no more NIL questions, right? And it was kind of like, then he remembered me. And
Right.
so going, just progressing, ACC kickoffs, ACC tip-off, doing NBA work, doing college football work, college baseball was an introduction for me, covering Vanderbilt, their chance, their journey through the NCAA World Series tournament, and then covering the Super Bowl, and now doing the draft the last 2 years. Doing the combine the last 2 years, and now I'm here, right? So like it's if I had to say, like, if someone had to say, like, man, rate your journey through all of this, I would say, like, man, I wouldn't change it for anything.
It's the most fun in the world. Like
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a true sports fan, growing up, and for me, I knew what I wanted to do probably when I was probably about like 10 or 11. I knew I wanted to do broadcasting. We all had that dream. Oh, I think I could be a pro athlete. I knew early. I knew I was good at this level, at that level, at high school level. I knew I wasn't going to be a college basketball player unless I was like 6'8". Then I probably would have had a shot. But 6'1" centers are not floating in college, in any level, not Joku or anything. It wasn't happening. So
not getting the PJ Tucker treatment.
Yeah, and it was like, bro, you 6'1". I know, but I think I got a shot. I got dunked on too many times, and when I got dunked on the second time, I said, yeah, it ain't meant to be. But I put a lot of my focus. I did journalism. I junior year in high school. And from that point on, it was always like, I've always wanted to do it. I kind of held off on it for a while. I was supposed to go to school for it. I held off on it when I got married, and, you know, social media changed the whole game. Like, I'm like, okay, I can finally do what I love, what I want to do, and truly put my heart into what I love to do. So, I mean, I thank God for social media, because I don't know if I would not have had the chance to do the things I wanted to do without it. But it also the opportunities that so many organizations, you know, they took a chance. They could have easily been like, no, you ain't whatever. And it took a while. It took a while to get to a point where people look and say, hey, man, they respect you. You know, they respect what you do. And it's not just, you know, oh, you look at you. Like, for me, the biggest thing was initially the local reporters, like the local news reporters, getting their respect meant a lot to me, because I felt like, okay, you guys, they're out there grinding, and if they can respect what I'm doing, I feel like that they would, you know, if they respect what I'm doing, then I think I've made the first step that I needed, and from there I could go from there, and they did, and it's funny, all of those news reporters that I looked up to, but one hoped to get their approval, they've all been on the show. Every single one of them. Well, one of them is coming on in a couple of weeks, but no spoilers. And so I've had pretty much every single one on, and they've all told me the same thing, and you know that they really appreciate everything, and it just made me like, yeah. So it's a tough business. Sometimes you spend more money, especially when you know how it is. You spend more money than you probably should, but you're getting to do things that some people wish they had an inkling of doing.
Man, and speaking to that, shout out to a couple of people that honestly, like, you wouldn't get this Courtlandt that's talking to you now if it wasn't for like Teron Davenport, Mike Patton, Raph, Lake Lewis, right? Like those guys, because like Teron Davenport, for all intents and purposes, like that was the dude, like outside of Stephen A. Smith and Chris Broussard, which that was a surreal meeting. At the Super Bowl, man, like that was a surreal meeting for me. That was a surreal moment for me, because like, so, first you at the Super Bowl, right? Like biggest game of the year.
Right.
America's arguably outside of the World Series, America's biggest sporting event, right? And I mean, you're seeing, man, like you walking past like Takeo Spikes, and you're seeing all of these stars, man, superstars, man. Overload. You're just like, you know, like your eyes are big, and you're just like, man, do I look like this my first time here? Right? Like, and man, like Stephen A. Smith. So I see him, big entourage, people chasing him around. And I was like, nah, I gotta get Stephen A. Like that's the dude, because that's the dude that my debate pattern, how I, you know, like that's the guy that I looked up to, right? And so I don't know if Stephen A. Smith knew who I was, knows who I am, or whatever. I don't know. But that day, like, I was like, yo, Mr. Smith, can I just get a picture with you? I just would love to get a picture with you. And his assistant takes my phone out of my hand. He's like, yo, like, he's like, follow me, right? So he motions to follow. So I'm following the entourage, and like, he finally got to a stopping point. He motions for me to come. His assistant takes my phone and like takes the picture. Stephen A. Smith, mind you, like, again, I don't know if the man knows who I am. I don't know if he know who Courtlandt Griffin is at all. But he was like, man, he said, man, you ain't that big yet, right? Like, he was like, you supposed to take this picture, like, you know, you're not that big yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what? Like, Stephen A. Smith just like, did he throw a yet on the end of that, right? And so. And no, he said, who do you think you are? You ain't that big yet.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and then like I shook his hand. I was like, Mr. Smith, I'm just really happy to meet you. He said, I'm gonna be waiting for you at the top. That moment, again, it could be delusion. It could be just my head canon.
Hey,
I don't know if he knows who I am, but again, like that moment was like one of my role models in the business, the biggest name in the business, arguably for what we do.
Right.
Just said, I'm gonna be waiting for you at the top. You ain't that big yet. That right there was just enough for me, like the spiritual side of me. Like, I'm here because of God, first and foremost. I said that could have just been God's way of saying, like, I got something for you, but just keep working. And then meeting Chris Broussard was surreal, because like that's the dude that like Stephen A. Smith was kind of the dude that I was like, I want to have the swag of Stephen A. Smith, like the presence, but I want to have the knowledge base of Chris Broussard. Like I want to be able to talk whatever sport you put me on. Like
Right.
baseball, I can talk it. Football, I can talk it. NBA, I can talk it. And so meeting him was crazy because I remember when Chris Broussard was the young buck on the scene. Like I remember he was the dude, like the baby face dude that everybody like. It was like, and is he old enough to even be on TV? So like I remember, like now he's one of the elder statesmen. And then of course my playing idols, like man, like Steve Smith Senior. Like I've met him twice, and both times it's just like bro, do you know who you are?
Yeah.
Like, do you
Yeah.
know I used to Agent 89, bro. Like I used to watch you and like I talk trash on the field like you, ran routes like you, like played the game like you. And then this past year at the draft, man, beating Santana Moss was
Yeah. Santana's good people, man. Santana's
yeah,
good
man.
people.
Like Lake was talking to him. I didn't realize who he was until I looked at his name tag and was like, that's
Santana Moss.
Santana Moss. Like, and so and like these are two guys that like I used to watch their tape and like try to emulate the things that they do. So again, man, like this journey is just it's surreal because these people now are not just talking to a fan, right? Like, yes, I'm a fan. Like that is the first thing
Colleague,
that I
man.
ever was.
Right.
But yeah, now they're looking at you like you got a credential on, just like I got a credential on, and they hold you to a certain standards. Like you said, getting their respect is something that is invaluable because now I'm in scrums with Teron Davenport and we
Right.
talking Titans and Jim Wyatt, who's the lead Titans writer, right? Like he is Mr. Titans.
Right.
And so like, you're looking at these those two for sure. And like they they giving me pointers and they know who I am and they're walking up to me and like, hey Courtlandt, what you think, man? Or, why are y'all rubbing like? And in my mind, I'm like, why are y'all rubbing elbows with me? Like, I should be asking y'all. Like,
But
but
I think that's the part that like for especially somebody like like us, where we when you start from scratch and you're trying to build yourself up, those moments are invaluable. Like I mean, I've had I think the first big moment I ever had was with Andy Katz at the A10 Media Day, and I remember him just asking for his advice. He was very kind. And you would think that most people you think, oh man, these people are gonna be nasty to me, because they're they're big time, they're big time. They're gonna be nasty to you. But I will say this: I've had a lot of good experiences with people that you thought, oh, maybe they won't be so kind. But no, it's I would say it's the kindness has definitely outweighed the bad. And I really thought getting into it is going to be like, oh, these people, because you see on TV, you're like, oh, these people are going to be just nasty.
man,
but no, it's
just their persona that they put on.
Yeah, it's been really nice. And so, like you said, meeting the Stephen A, which I haven't had a chance to meet Stephen A yet, but it's still like every time you get to meet somebody in that field, like I remember first time I met Sal Palantonio. And I thought, yo, this is Sal Palantonio.
Yeah.
Like I said that to him, and I didn't realize I was saying that. I was like, it's Sal Palantonio, ESPN. He started laughing, and I'm like, yo. You're Sal Palantonio. At the Super Bowl, met Dana Jacobson, and we were at when we were all at oh my goodness, what do you call it? Media night. On the media night and I saw her this year, and I said, Dana. And you get a little nervous, but even after 7 or 8 years doing this, you get a little nervous. And I said, Dana, I just wanted to come up to you and say thank you. And she was like, and she looked at me and I said, look, when I was growing up, I watched you all the time on ESPN. You were one of the group of analysts and anchors that I looked up to because, you made it fun. You made sports enjoyable. And she was like, oh my God, that's and it was just a good, wholesome. And I could have easily asked for a picture and I wanted to, but it was just having that conversation with her, which went a long way. I think
that was Bucky Brooks for me this year.
Yeah,
that was my Bucky Brooks moment this year because I saw Bucky at the Marriott in Indy,
and
of course you watch NFL Network, and Bucky Brooks is that guy, right? Like he's the draft guy, and so like I was like, I could ask this man for a picture, I can ask this man to look at my articles, or I could just have a conversation with him. And so I just was like, yo, Mr. Brooks, it's great to meet you. Mind you, I forgot to say my name clearly because he asked, like, what's your name? And
that first,
yeah, who I am, right? That's important, right? And so we got to talking draft. And I'm like, I'm having a conversation off the record, of course, with Bucky Brooks, and he's not like giving me this kid don't know what he's talking about. Like he's actually like paying attention. That moment for me was like, you know what? I've arrived. Like finally sitting in, right? Like, and so it's just one of them. Like I try to stay humble with this,
Mhm.
because again, like one day that could be me or will be me, I should say. And then there's gonna be some young kid who's trying to break into the business, and I could be the guy that he's like, man, I remember watching Courtlandt and da 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 da, Mr.
Right.
Griffin, and it's like I don't want to be the guy who forgets
Where you came from.
where I came
Man, where
from,
you came
right? But
from.
also like I don't want to forget the moments that made me who I am, right?
Mhm.
Like I don't want to forget the beating Darrell, you know what I mean? Like beating Darrell Owens,
Right, right,
right?
right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey bro, like what's because I know you remember like my like first time I met you, I'm like, yo,
Hey,
bro, like
I'll never
what's
forget the first time we met, man. I'll never
like
forget it, man.
like hey bro, so like what's like how do like what do we do? You just raise your hand and like you know what I mean? Like no, they'll call on
Mhm.
you. Stuff like that. Like even the people that you like that seem like, like people like, oh well, y'all on the same level. Not really. Like you've been doing this for 7 years, bro. Like
Mhm.
I ain't, what I mean? I'm entering year what 4 or 5. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
They start
it's
going by
like,
fast though.
yeah, but it's like those faithful meetings, this interaction, right? It
Mhm.
don't these are the things that we'll look back one day when we working for whatever network, if it's one ESPN or whatever, and be like, man, remember when we first met, where we
Mhm.
was, how it was, and now look at where we at, and you know what I mean, whatever. So like it's just I man, like I said, this journey is, I mean, God put it together, right? God had this destined, but man, like it's fun. Like these last 5 years has been fun. I'm hoping for another 5.
10, 15, 20. Look,
Yeah.
and it just gets better and better from here. I promise you that. Let's talk a little bit about the Tennessee Titans. Now, this Titans
Mhm.
team, last year, maybe not the way they wanted things. There was some growing pains on that team last year. I kind of want to get your outlook on this 2024 team. Me and you had a conversation last week, just
Mhm.
kicking it and talking
Yeah.
about this team and what they could be. And just give us a little bit of an insight on this 2024 Tennessee Titans team.
Man, this for the first time in a long time. I think it's a roster. It's a true roster reset, right? Or just say organizational reset, right? And this just is coming from a person who's watched this team since they became the Tennessee Titans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee Oilers, Tennessee Titans. We haven't really had that true franchise refresh reset in
Mm-hmm.
a long time, right? Like for a while, we just kind of went from Steve, Eddie, and Javon, and Derek Mason and Samari Road, and you kind of rolled right into the Vince
The Vince Young
Young,
era,
the Vince Young, Lindell White, Chris Johnson era, and then you rolled and then you rolled out of that, and then we hit like purgatory, right?
yeah, and a
Like
Jake
it was just
Locker.
like like
Jake
it was like
Locker.
Jake Locker and Zach Mettenberger, and then like you got Marcus and Marcus Mariota
Yeah.
and Mike Munchak and Ken Wisenhunt era, and it was kind of like at first I think Titans fans kind of viewed this as that, right? The Ken Wisenhunt, Marcus Mariota era, where it was like, man, offensive minded coach, oh man, philosophy change, and this is totally different, right? This is completely different. This
Yeah.
is now from the top down, honestly, like outside of the ownership, which is Amy, who I in my opinion, one of the greatest owners. Like talking to that lady is you wouldn't if you just saw her walking around, you wouldn't think she's the owner of the team.
Right.
Right. And not in a bad way. Like she's like the team mom, like you feel like she should be walking around with like warm oven baked cookies, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's just one of the and so but man, this roster in itself, this Titans team, I'm not gonna say playoffs or Super Bowl, but the air of confidence, the way the team is operating, the vibe around the facilities, you could tell the air is lighter. Callie is breathing new life into the team, right? Will Levis is moving like a number one quarterback should, right? He's got him down in Cabo like just yesterday. They had him out like he's got Calvin Ridley and D Hop and the Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears down in Cabo throwing balls, right? Like just throwing passes, and you don't see that, right? Like
Yeah.
you've never seen a Tennessee Titans quarterback do that. And social media could be, it could be the advent of social media and the injection, of social media into modern day sports that put it, but like it's just you see that with other star quarterbacks, right? And now you're seeing it with him. And like I said, the outlook for the team to me is a team on the rise, a team that's coming into the modern day edition of who they are, right? And in my opinion, my humble opinion, like not as a fan, just as a reporter and team, a guy who follows the team. I mean, this could be that year like the 49ers had back in 2016, where they went like 6-10. And then, and people were like, man, hiring Shanahan was a horrible idea. Like, why would they, oh man, get rid of that guy? And then like the very next year, they were competing for a Super Bowl.
That was that year that they were losing like the first 6 games. That was the first year I covered the Commanders on site. And I remember like they played Washington there, and they were I remember in the press conference, one of the questions that popped up right before I asked them a question, before I actually had a question, they were like, hey, what, how does it feel like, you've lost these games, the last 6 games have less than 7 points. Like they had literally could have easily had been 6-0. They just couldn't get it together. And then obviously they get it together. But yeah, I mean, if that's the case, that's not a bad thing right there for Tennessee. What I do like is I've always been especially the last couple of years, advocate of the changing of the guard when it comes to head coaches. I love some of these old school head coaches. I love Tomlin. I love guys like that, guys who've been in the game. But the McVay era, let me shout out Andy Reid and stuff. But the McVay era style, the young gun coaches have done really well for the most part. I mean, even Zach Taylor struggled in the beginning. Obviously, getting Joe Burrow doesn't hurt, but you can see how things, once he got the pieces that he needed, how crisp it was. Even LaFleur had Aaron Rodgers those first couple of years. It wasn't until last year I was like, okay, he's got to actually coach now. He's got to coach young Jordan Love. And yeah, it was rocky and roady at some points, but there were some moments you're like, okay, he's got something going here. And those are how the young coaches have been like kind of doing. And so that's why I was like, when they got a young gun, I'm like, I like this for Tennessee. I like that, that he can kind of help bring them along. And I love this for him. I love it for him.
And it starts with Ran Carthon. Like for the first time, like, I mean, doing this, doing sports reporting, right? You kind of look at certain figures as guys that you're like, man, if I could just get to him, right?
Right.
Maybe he might say something to me, right? Man, so this year at the Combine was another surreal moment. I met Ran Carthon last year at training camp, right? Got to talk to him, talked about Jordans, like, because he had on a pair of dope 11s, man.
Right.
And so we started talking, and I didn't really think he knew who I was. Like Mike introduced me to him, right? So like you talk to these people, but you like they probably not gonna remember my face.
Right.
I'm a passing glance. This is a passing glance conversation type
just
thing.
Some guy. Yeah, he's some guy.
Right. And so this year, right, I get there, I'm at the Combine, we're committed. I'm asking them questions, and then we got over to the breakout, like just like this little side, for local media. And I'm trying to get a question. Of course, people are just like, how scrums get, man.
Yeah,
like you can't get a word in edgewise.
Just in the way, man. They just in the way.
Right. And so like, man, I'm holding my phone. I'm like, Rank. So what about? So how? And he was like, hold on, bro. Like my man, like somebody asked a question. He was like, hold on, my man's right here. I'm gonna make sure he gets his question. And so I got my question. So like he was standing by a trash can. He was talking to somebody, and I just walked past him. I was like, "Excuse me, Rand, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you there." He said, "No, I'm always gonna look out for my guys, man. Like hopefully we see you, and hopefully we see you this all season."
That's a good deal.
And it was like,
it's a good deal.
Yo, Rand Carthon knows who I am. Like it was like in the middle of the Indianapolis Convention Center. Like I want to scream like, he knows who I am, right? Yeah. And so, but it starts with him. Starts with that guy, man. Like the swag, the confidence, the ability to talk to players. Like, and those who don't know, and if you're a Titans fan, you're watching this, or just an NFL fan, you like to keep up with news like this. One thing I learned is that Deebo Samuel, when Deebo was going through the whole contract situation, right? He was in Miami. He flew to Miami. He was all but gone.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who flew down there and got him to re-sign in San Francisco, Rand Carthon, right? That guy was like, yo, like whatever the conversation was, and I know that from a very confident source. So you look at that and you see like the Titans and the free agents that we got this year. Lloyd Cushenberry, best center on the free agent market. Calvin Ridley flipping from staying in Jacksonville and possibly even taking the New England deal to choosing the Tennessee Titans. D-Hop last year, right? Could have went to Kansas City, could have went to Baltimore, could have went to Buffalo, right? He did the interviews and everybody's like, everything that he landed on his criteria list, the Titans don't got. But he chose Tennessee anyway.
Right.
And so, and he's back again. He's committed and he's leading the young wide receiver room. And like I said, all of these things that are happening that are newly unprecedented. These things never happen for Titans fans. And it's that guy. It's Rand Carthon. And Amy Adams is 100%, 150% behind him. He's 100%, 50% behind his guys and his staff. And the players, that kind of trickles down to the players, right? So, I mean, yeah, man, it's a different feel around the Tennessee Titans organization. Like, it's not the heavy. It feels like, man, I gotta go in here with my lunch pill and like, stamp the old time card. Like, it's like the guys.
I'm just here just to be here.
Like, I don't find like, no, it's like guys are actually happy to walk into the facility. Guys are having fun, and as a former athlete, man, like when you have fun and you get to play loose and you're not worried about disappointing your coach in the matter of like, man, I just don't want coach to be pissed off at me.
Right.
It helps you go out on the field and play your best. Like I promise you, if you've been an athlete at any level, if you have a coach that you like, man, like I like playing for that guy, you probably had your best season, best game or whatever, because you liked playing for that guy, right? So, yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see these guys in 2024.
Well, I can't wait to see. I'll get to see them December 1st. They come to Washington, so that'll be the one that I'll be looking forward to see what they do when they head to FedEx or excuse me, Commander Field, because they're no longer no longer FedEx Field. So with that being said, it is time for our next section here on 101. It is time for Quick One. All right, Courtlandt. Are you ready for the Courtlandt Griffin version of Quick Ones here on 101?
Yeah. Yeah, as ready as I'll ever be.
There we go. Let's go ahead and get it started. Favorite sports moment, sir?
The Music City Miracle. As a 6-year-old kid, man, you watching that, you're like, man, okay, my new favorite sports team, because I was not going to be a Giants fan. Sorry, Dad.
Sorry, Pops.
Yeah, man. Sorry, Dad. Was not going to be a Giants fan. But like my favorite team now, hometown team, going to the Super Bowl in the first year in the new stadium. Yeah, that's my favorite sports moment.
So I think I know what the worst sports moment is going to be, but I'll just go ahead and ask you this. What is your worst sports moment?
1 yard short.
I will say this. I'm going to say this about the Super Bowl. So that Super Bowl here in Virginia, we had the worst snowstorm like ever. The snowstorm was so bad. It's the only Super Bowl I never, that I was alive for, that I didn't get a chance to watch. I had to listen to it on the radio. It was the most exciting Super Bowl I ever just. Yeah. I mean, if it was the Tampa Bay game the following year or whatever, it probably would have been a disaster. But listening to it on the radio and just imagining how the game was going, I was a big Steve McNair guy. And people always say to me, like, who's your favorite quarterbacks? I said, well, obviously I'm a Packers fan. So, those two, Brett Favre was that guy for a while, and then Aaron Rodgers. But there's one guy that has always been Like no matter what the situation, that was Steve McNair. Steve McNair was my favorite. Well, he's definitely 1 and 2. I put a 1A, 1B with him and Aaron, and I've always been a Steve McNair guy, and so I've always been a big fan of him. So listening to the game, and it's funny. Even after how like years, they always do the on NFL Network, they go back and they show the game. I've never fully watched the game because I felt like it would take away from the experience of the radio. And so it was, I've seen the 1 yard thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've seen the 1 yard thing because I remember watching it, and the way the announcer said it, you thought that Tennessee had won it. He was like, "In the end zone," and they got quiet. And then he's like, he got stopped at the what? I say, no.
The sequence. So watching that game, man, the sequence. Like Eddie's scrambling, or not Eddie, but Steve is scrambling. Steve's scrambling. He breaks out of a sack. And then, like, man, it was the most perfect. I don't think if Steve could, if I could resurrect Steve right now, I don't think he'd tell you he threw a prettier ball than that one. And Kevin came down with it. It was in the breadbasket. And it was like, come on, bro, just stretch your arm, like just dislocate the shoulder and stretch it.
Just throw it off your body.
But I tell people this all the time, man. Like that moment for me was like if someone said like, what made you fall in love with the NFL? That
was it.
It was like that right there, because it wasn't a Music City Miracle. Like I just loved the Titans at that point. But like falling in love with the NFL was like, yo, okay, 1 yard short, we back. We gonna be back. And then, Eddie George turns around and just kind of hands it to number 52. So
that's how it is, man. That's how it is. But definitely, I remember like it was yesterday. Next one, your favorite athlete of all time.
Ooh, man. Oh man, I got 2. One is Derek Jeter.
Derek
Jeter, and I'm a Yankees fan. That's the one thing I did pick up from Dad. And then Deion Sanders, man. Like Deion was every man. Like it was the look good play. Like if you look good, you play good. No, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. That was me. Like, and people who play with me, they know, man. Like if it was an accessory to be had, bro, I got it. Like the back plate, the arm sleeve, the finger, whatever, the leg sleeves, the whatever, the crinkle socks, the spats, whatever it was. Like because I was the person. Like I was like, not only do I want to be seen, but I want to, I want to be the show. Right. And so like, man, yeah, like Deion and Derek for sure, and then like Ken Griffey would be an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, Ken's in my fave five is my man Booker T used to say. I will say this though, I think you saying Deion Sanders makes the 5th person on 101 to say Deion Sanders. Last week, Marcus Harper, he said Deion Sanders last week. My man Glaze, Glaze, he said Deion Sanders. Deion actually retweeted it that time that we reshared it. It was so funny, but it's just Deion's beloved. I think my girl Sheena Quick, she said Deion Sanders. So like, there's multiple of people that they just love.
And I can throw another one in there. Like I said, like I got favorite sports figures, man. Like in every sport, it's not just one guy shines above anyone. But like Magic Johnson, like I know people like I'm 31. Yes, y'all, I'm 31, right? And no, I didn't. I have not watched Winning Time yet. But
I watched the first 5 episodes. That was it.
But that was one of those books that I read as a kid, man. Like so. Yeah, I watched Space Jam, but Magic Johnson, it was like, yo, this dude was crazy, right? Like,
Magic, baby.
Legit, right? And so then, like, the surreal moment was like, I was working at Nike, in the mall, and I got to meet Magic. Like, I never looked up. But just kind of, it's like 8:40. Mall closed at 9. Store closed at 9, bro. Like, why is this dude in here, right? And so I never looked up. My manager gets on the walkie and is like, Courtlandt, have you looked up yet? Everybody knows like Magic Johnson's like my favorite player of all time. I was like, nah, man. I was like, no, I said, for what, man? I'm just trying to get this dude like out the store, right? I'm just trying to get him out service so we can check him out and get him out. And I looked up. Magic. I was like, do you know who you are? Yeah, like
Do you know who you are, man? Like you look like somebody I know.
Man, but that kind of cemented it for me, right? Like he was already my favorite basketball player, but like, like now that kind of cemented it. And then, so like, yeah, I'll have to throw him in there too, man. Like that man, yeah.
Yeah, I can't be mad at that. I'm hoping to get a chance to run into him this year. Hoping to get a chance to run into him. I ran into him last year in New York. But
that's right. He is part.
Yeah. I walked into him last year in New York. I walked past him. He was coming through with his wife. Man, I didn't realize how tall he was until. And I'm 6'1". I thought I was tall. No, not at all. He walked past me. 6'9". Yeah. He every bit of 6'9". He walked past me, and I'm like, "Hey, Magic, how you doing?" He's like, "Hey." I said, "Did I just speak to Magic Johnson?" And because it's like a drive-by thing, and I'm like, "Yeah, I spoke to Magic Johnson." So hopefully, I get a chance to get a little bit closer, or at least something a little bit closer on that end. Next one, worst ice cream you've ever had?
Oh wow.
Yeah, just nasty. Like just a nasty ice cream.
Oh man, you know what? This might be like. So I tried I think it's Breyers or whatever. They tried make like the cake bars like into like ice cream flavors. And I tried the Star Crunch one, and I about gagged. I was like, why did y'all? I was like, this ruins. Yeah, I was like, this kind of ruins Star Crunches for me now. Like,
disgusted.
Because like, bro, I tried the zebra cake joint. I was like, okay, this is cool. It's a little too sweet, but it's cool. Shout out to Darrell, because Darrell be.
Look, y'all know I hype up ice cream. That's a given. I hype up.
That's what made me go. That's what made me go try them. Right, was your video. Because I was like, no, I was like, Darrell said he cool. I'm gonna try them because
Now, I didn't try to. I will say this: I didn't try the Star Crunch one. I think I had zebra cake and the strawberry
Swiss roll. Yeah. And so I did the Swiss roll one, and I like Swiss rolls. I'm a Swiss rolls fan. It was cool, and I was like, you know what? The Star Crunch was like $2.50. I was like, hey, I'm gonna get it. Yeah, right. Like these two was fine. So like that one, right? The Star Crunches are great.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is
disgusting.
Trash.
I don't know, what am I eating here? This is horrible.
It was one of those, Darrell, man. I took a spoonful of it, and you do this number though.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's too late. You done embarked in it down that time. You're like, you're in deep.
And I put the top on it and threw it away.
You were in deep at that point,
man.
That's great. Last one on quick ones. All right, you are a superhero, and you can have 3 superpowers. Probably should have put super on there. You get 3 powers. What are they?
Okay.
You get 3. You get 3 powers.
All right, cool. Watch. All right, so work with me here, because we Marvel fans and stuff, comic book fans.
We in there.
give me reality warping.
Okay.
Right? I can, I like Franklin Richards. Give me like genius intellect.
Okay.
Right? And then give me like teleportation, and I'll be.
Gotta have teleportation. That's important.
Yeah, I'll be straight, because then I can like shape the world how I want it.
Right?
And if I don't want to be bothered, I can just like my own world.
Like, man,
and be there.
I'm out of here.
Right? I need a way to get to my world and back. So I gotta be able to teleport.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then like to be a super genius is just like, bro, like I'm a super genius. Yeah, I'm a super
smart,
genius,
and I'm teleported at the same time.
Yeah, like
look, I think it's important. You gotta either have teleportation or flying. So you're gonna I feel like those are like must superpowers if you're gonna pick any superpower. So one or the other. So teleportation, I'm down with that.
I mean, like, and I don't want to like ruin this question for anybody else. I just kind of feel like when people be like, I want invisibility, like I just kind of feel like, I was like, bro, like that's some creepo stuff, bro.
Say, why you want to be invisible for? I don't know.
Why you don't want nobody to see you?
Man, something like, just ain't right.
that and like that and the X-ray vision thing. It'd be like, y'all nefarious, bro.
You can't do anything. I mean, the power to heal or something like that. Give me something. Don't go with X-ray vision.
Give me something that's got a counter to it, right?
Invisibility. That's a little bit suspect out there. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Man.
All right, everyone. That is it for quick ones here on 101. And we're about to finish this thing up with Leave Your Legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to first of all thank Courtlandt for stopping by with us, talking a little shop, getting to learn the great man that is Courtlandt Griffin. Has been an absolute pleasure. So glad that he's here, so he won't get fined. That is also important, ladies and gentlemen. It's also important to have him here. So, but before we go, and the question we like to ask everybody on here who comes on for the first time, we want you to leave your legacy. What do you want your legacy to be when you are, retired, sitting back, drinking a pina colada or whatever your drink of choice is, Jack and Coke. I don't know. If you're not a drinker, you like milk, by all means. But whatever you're doing at that time when you're sitting back and relaxing and you can sit and reflect, what type of legacy do you want to leave? And if you have any special projects you want to talk about, let us know.
So when I got into this originally, I wanted to kind of bridge the gap between the athlete and media. And I know that sounds like, like the whole new media craze that's going on, but I kind of wanted to be the liaison, right? Like I've been inside of a locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to be on the other side of, you just lost a big game or you had a tough loss or injury or, you just have to, maybe even if you won the game, you just don't want to talk to nobody, right? I kind of wanted to be the guy that understood that part of it and kind of bridged that gap. At the end of this, man, I just kind of want people to I just want to be able to say, like, man, Courtlandt did it the way he wanted to do it. He forged his own path, and I just want people to be able to say, like, man, that dude knew what he was doing. Like, he knew what he was talking about, right? Like, I just don't want to be the guy that people are like, man, y'all remember that dude, Courtlandt?
Clown.
Like,
like, you don't want that. Don't call me. I don't want to be a clown, man. Like,
so like, I want to be the guy. I want to be the guy that, like I said, man, just like when I do decide to like get my last off into the sunset, that people be like, man, dang, bro, like TV ain't gonna be the same, or man, sports journalism ain't gonna be the same, right? Like, I kind of want to have the what's my man's that passed away that was on ESPN for a long time.
Stuart Scott.
Stuart Scott.
Yes.
I kind of want to have the Stuart Scott effect, right? Like, I kind of want to like, and not so much as like, it don't have to be people that like people miss me or whatever. I just kind of want to be one of those guys where it's like, yeah, man, he changed the game for somebody, right? Like, he was an inspiration. So, definitely that's the big part. And then like special projects, as Darrell probably know, like I love to do NFL draft. That's kind of my passion. Not no condo about it. Like, that's my main kind of my bread and butter. Yeah.
Main
thing. And so I just launched it's been an idea that's kind of been in the works for the last 2 years. But I just kind of was like, I'm gonna dive in it and see where it takes me. So I did just start a Substack called On the Clock.
Awesome.
So it's gonna be scouting reports, right? For players. So you'll get scouting reports, you'll get stories that follow the rookies in the NFL in their first year in their rookie seasons, right? Hopefully I can get some player interviews and things of that nature that can be uploaded as well. But also I'm gonna start a podcast that kind of corresponds with that, and try to get some player interviews and try to get, in touch with those players and kind of bridge that gap, right? Because a lot of these guys just don't get the recognition that they deserve. Some of these guys, people don't know them, right? Like, they're rookies or aspiring NFL rookies. And so you kind of want people to kind of get a feel for their personality, because the one thing that mainstream media, and it sucks because, we're media, but who better to point it out, some of the flaws in media than media.
Yeah.
Some of the flaws is like things get narrative driven, right? Every year you get some guy who, let's take a Marvin Harrison Jr. for example, right? Or Caleb Williams, right? They move a certain way, they do a certain thing, people don't like it, and so what do? Man, that guy's a pompous jerk. He doesn't,
what
I mean, like
thug.
Like he's that's my
guy. That guy's a thug. Like,
that's my favorite one. Like, that guy's a thug. Oh, he's a miscreant. He doesn't.
Miscreant is dangerous.
He doesn't care about the game, right?
He don't care about his teammates. What about his fans? And like, bro, like,
it's a disgrace to the game.
He's a
right?
disgrace
Like,
to the game.
He's never taken a snap. How can he disgrace any? Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
But
but
but like I want to get those guys because those are the guys that deserve a voice, right? Those are the guys that, hey, bro, look, I got a 35 to 45-minute time block, and it's gonna be about you, and whatever you say is on the record now. Like now, if you get on there and you like, man, hey, you flipped the bird, that's on you.
that's
I'm not gonna stop
you
you.
did that. I'm just looking.
Right. I'm not gonna stop you, but this is your chance for just people to know. So like that's what on the clock is about. And of course, like it's me doing something that I love to do. And like I said, like I didn't get to live my dream of getting my name called, but I can at least facilitate somebody getting their name called and somebody's child, with getting that seeing that dream come true. Because now my dream has changed. Like I don't care about getting my name called now. Like
Right.
now I'm trying to be behind somebody's desk, like what I'm saying, talking about it now. So my playing day is over. I'm 31 years old, bro. Like even if I wanted to get in shape,
It creep up on you, man.
yeah, bro.
I'll be 40 this year.
Bro, they gonna look at me like, cause you do know you on the wrong side of. Oh, that hurt my heart just saying that just now.
Man,
Like you on the wrong side
do
of
that.
30.
Don't do that to yourself, man. Don't do it to yourself. Like I remember when I turned 30, and then now I was like, man, 30, man. Everything starts hurting a little bit more, and then once you turn 30, like I'll be 40 in like
Man, I ain't
6
even
months. I mean, like,
So here's the crazy thing, Darrell. Like even to now, and I know we like probably gotta get off of here, bro.
Mhm.
But even to now, like I still kind of have that childlike fervor about myself, right? I don't have like the pain in my body and stuff like that, and that's God
Mhm.
blessing, right? I can still get up and do things I like to do, run and jump and go do things I want to do. But like I found myself like it be times where I be like dang, bro, like you 30? Like why so serious, bro? Like, and it ain't even because they look old or whatever. It's just like sometimes I kind of feel like man, like sometimes the way you carry yourself is
Right.
like it can aid you more than like I look at life like, bro, I'm here to have fun because I'm here for a good time, not a long time, right?
Right.
Like that every day is not promised, and for every day that God blesses me to open my eyes
You
and
gotta
draw
live it
breath,
to the fullest, man. Gotta live it to the fullest.
I'm gonna do it the way that I want to do it, bro. Like I'm gonna go out. People know like Courtland gonna have fun. He gonna joke. He gonna laugh. I'm gonna have my serious moments. I'm gonna have my emotional moments. But one thing I can say is, man, like I'm doing this because I love life, right? Like, and how I live life is how I'm gonna live it, right? Because when I leave here, like and I guess that's part of leaving my legacy, right? Like
Right.
I wanted my kids to be able to say, like, man, my dad lived it till he couldn't do it no more,
Right.
right? Like
You
he
want
did it.
you want them to be proud, man. You want to
Yeah,
leave that
right.
example. So it's
So
as a father of three, believe me, it's you look at certain situations and you want to be the best dad you could be, but that's another part of leaving that legacy is like, man, my dad was this and that. It's important. It's important the type of impact that you have. As things go along. So, well, look, everybody. Hey, I can't believe it. It's the hour flew by fast. We were having so much fun.
right.
We were having so much fun in the process. But before we get off, I want to announce next week's guest. And that's my girl, Donna Hopkins, NFL reporter and analyst, co-host of the Tony McGee Pro Football Plus. I've known Donna for a couple of years. We call her Auntie Donnie, Auntie Donna. And, she has been on the Commanders beat for a very long time. So we'll talk some Commanders football, talk about her legacy, talk about how she got going into the game here on 101 for episode 129. So I can't wait to have Miss Donna on next week. That is going to be a fun one. Of course, make sure y'all check out the amazing Bowie Television. So this is all the places that you can go to check out Bowie. We're on Instagram, on YouTube. I know that's a Twitter logo, but hey, Twitter's always gonna be Twitter to me. I'm sorry, X. And then TikTok, of course. Make sure you check us out on there. And then, of course, the Legacy Maker Sports Network. You can catch us in all of these wonderful places. But like I said, once again, everybody, I want to thank Courtlandt for joining us for episode 128 here of 101 in season 5. Courtlandt, once again, man, I appreciate you for coming on, my friend.
And I appreciate the invite, bro. Like hopefully this ain't the last time.
No, it's not gonna be the last time. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we're gonna have to get you back on at some point and chop it up, talk some football, talk life, all that good stuff. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Everybody, make sure you go check out Courtlandt. But before I go, Courtlandt, tell them where they can find you. Tell them where they can find you.
On Instagram and on Twitter, you can find me at DC Griffey. I post mainly. I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter, right? Posting articles on there, most of my takes on there, and then Instagram, you can find a lot of content on there. So a lot of the videos from like the draft and other events that I've covered is on there as well, man. And then, I mean, you can find me in the comment section of, Legacy on Fire or
he be popping in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Coaching from the couch with my girl Candy. And you can find me anywhere, man. Like, believe me, I'm the only Courtlandt Matthew Griffin that you going to see. I promise I've looked for others. And they know. So
I'm looking for them. Hey, look, there's not a lot of Courtlands that got the T at the end.
Yeah,
so it's like you can pull that off a little bit. And when I first met you, and I'll say this before I go. When I first met you, I thought it was a D, and I was like, "Why is that T in there?" So I thought it was Courtlandt, and Courtlandt, and I didn't know there's a T silent. You just it's there for pretty purposes. There's no need for you to try to don't try to add nothing to it. This is just there for decoration. Look, everybody. Once again, we'd like to thank Courtlandt for coming on, man. Thank you for being here for 128, telling your story and telling us about your journey. We truly, truly appreciate it. Once again, everybody, I'm Darrell Owens, Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course of the amazing Bowie Television. We'll see you all next week for episode 129. Until next time.
One. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I get